This is our fifth and supposedly final class, but I've offered you one additional class because I think we need it. And I just showed you this quick video because I really wanted you to think about the perspective you have on your life. All of you came from someplace today, rushing, traffic, family, kids, you know, whatever it was you dealt with, and you can lose your center real easy. We all do. I lost mine this morning, you know, I realized that over nothing, you know, but we all are dealing with our life on a level that's constantly ever changing and ever intrusive with these many myriads of things that are coming on to us all the time. But one of the things that I've learned in astrology is that it's real important to be in the center and be now and be focused. And if you're working with a client, there's nothing worse than to be displaced and not right there with that client, because you'll miss so much. You're going to miss literally the opportunity to commune with that person on a level that is reaching their soul, if you would. That's what I believe astrology is about and good communion's about. I like to think of a metaphysician, and I like to think of myself as a metaphysician. And the word metaphysics is an extraordinary word, but it incorporates this art of astrology. And metaphysics is it's really the physics that's beyond what we think of as the physical world. It's the things that impinge on our world that we are creating and we're interacting with all the time and not seeing that relationships going on. To be the observer and to sit back and recognize that you're creating your own reality, that you are actually the creator of what's going on in your life. And most enlightened beings have recognized that throughout history. You know, that we are really the author of our own destiny. And in astrology, you're dealing with clients that are coming to you for answers about their life. They want to know, why is my life the way it is, or how can I change it, or what is my future? You know, am I going to find a relationship that, you know, fulfills my life? Am I going to make enough money to provide for my family and myself? These are basic, essential questions. And if you think about it, almost every question you'll get in astrology comes down to three things. Simply three. Love, money, and health. Good for you. So those are the questions you're going to be dealing with clients. The one area that I caution you to be careful with is health. You need to be very circumspect about the way you deal with that, in the sense that you don't want to plant fear in somebody, and you don't want to lay the seeds for them to believe and have some condition that they probably might not have had if they didn't embody that belief long enough. As a man believeth in his heart, so it is, the good book says. So if you go through your life believing you're going to get cancer, or you're going to have this and that and whatever else, you're going to likely bring it upon yourself. The point is also that when you do a chart, you're going to see things that you can speak about because you know they already happened. I'm very careful about that. Many of you know when I do charts, I will pick out things, physical anomalies, things that already are in your experience, you know, arthritic problems or whatever they might be. I can see those things very clear. But if I'm dealing with a younger person, I got to be very cautious about the way I lay that out to them, and let them know that maybe they need to be more careful about diet and things of that nature. Maybe they need to be more aware of the potential for these problems, but at the same time, don't lay it out there so that they believe that's got to happen. It's a hard road to walk. You have to be very, I would say, clever about the way you do astrology. You have to be very circumspect about the way you give out advice. I've seen and I've listened to people reading, and I used to do a lot of fairs, psychic fairs, and I listened to the guy next to me or the gal over here, and I'm scared almost by what I hear, I think, you know. And most of it's garbage, quite truthfully. I hate to say that. You know, I mean, the last time I did a psychic fair, we sat down next to a gal with tarot and astrology, and she had all the all the dress to look like somebody out of Gypsies. And every person that sat down got the same story. I was astounded. You're gonna be at a family gathering, and you're going to be a unifying force for that group, and everybody's going to come together, and they're going to recognize you as a unifier. And it was very nice, but it was the same story to everybody. And to me, these people are deceitful. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you, and we're here to talk about how are you going to approach clients. The more you can be here now, the more you're going to be successful. And by that, I mean the more you're with the person you're with. There's nothing more profound than to look in another person's eyes and really commune with their soul. And they know the sincerity and they know the depth of your perceptions, because that's really what's coming on. The astrology, to me, is a tool to lead somebody somewhere. And where's that? I told you, I think I've mentioned to you many times that the three wise men were astrologers, and the purpose of their life was to lead us to the cradle of the Christ. I still believe that. I believe astrology ultimately is meant to lead us to that cradle of divine realization, to the Christ within you, to that godly being you are. And if it does that, it serves a wonderful higher purpose. Okay? If it's a parlor game, if it's something that is taken lightly, I think it does a disservice. So, again, people like entertainment, that's good, you can do that too. But so, where's all this going? It's like, be here now. That's what this little video was about, just kind of bring you back to understanding how grateful and how appreciative you should be for what you have in your life. Spend time dwelling on what you have instead of what you don't have, and you'll have more. I believe that too. As soon as you spend your time dwelling on the lost love, the lost money, the lost health, you put your mind on those things, you're going to bring more of it on yourself. So what do? We sit down with a client, and we sit down with them, and we become one with them. But you can't do that unless you have love. I know I'm real preachy about love, but that's really the key of it all. And you can't love others till you love yourself. And you'll never be whole, and you'll never have integrity. You'll never have the integrity that it takes to be a good astrologer unless you are walking in wholeness yourself. How can you guide? I've noticed in my life, I've seen it over and over again. One of my best friends, I love him, but he's a motivational and a lecturer and all, but one of his major themes is how to be prosperous. And he's never got it himself. And very often you'll see that, But he's trying to get prosperous by teaching other people how to be prosperous, and it's not working for him. And I'm not judging him. I'm just saying that very often the sick seek the physician. We seek out that which we might find some solace in. And that's also, I find in life, if we're missing or lacking in some area, we'll tend to read all the books about it and try to be the authority on it, but we may never really grasp the depth of it. So I want you all to go out there and start touching people's lives. I want you to start healing people. I said metaphysics. What is metaphysics? It's the physician of the soul. That's what a metaphysician is. A metaphysician is somebody that touches other people's souls and heals them and brings to them some wholeness in their life. There's nothing to allow you to do that better than astrology. Nothing will allow you to do it better. So, say that over? Louder. Don't unplug it.
I had the thought that it's like the metaphysician to the physician or a physicist is like the quantum level to the Newtonian. You're dealing with rearranging reality rather than just studying it or
exactly. I like that, yes. Because the physics takes us closer and closer to metaphysics the more we study it.
Right.
So,
yes, but we're still behaving on a Newtonian level,
Exactly.
Really, I mean, this is not solid.
I know, isn't that amazing? As when you think about it.
Metaphysically, in quantum physically,
Mm.
we know that it's not solid.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much to life that we can't even begin to perceive. We just have 5 simple senses, and those senses can only go so far. You know, there's ultraviolets, there's infrareds, there's all sorts of visible light that we don't even perceive. There's sounds that my dog can hear, but you can't hear. You know, there's so many different levels of perception that we're not privileged to. But I believe that as we expand our hearts and our souls, we can get to those levels of understanding and experience those things. You know, I've said to you many times, as you dwell on good, your eyes dilate. Did you know that? They dilate. They dilate. They'll get bigger. They dilate. When the scripture said, if thine eye be single, the whole body be full of light, it wasn't talking about a third eye. I've seen these interpretations. Third eye. You know, pineal gland. Yeah, okay. It's not about that. They were talking about an eye that totally dilated. And what causes your eye to dilate? When you dwell on good. Did you know that? If you're dwelling on good, your eyes will open. A man looks at a beautiful woman, his eyes will do what? They dilate. If he looks at something that's unattractive, they'll tend to do the opposite. They constrict. Men's eyes, interestingly enough, will dilate to violence. A woman's eyes will dilate not to violence generally. A woman's eyes won't, but a man's will. I'm not sure if that's changed over time. A lot of things have changed in terms of men's and women's perceptions of things. But a man's eyes will dilate to violence. A woman's eyes used to dilate the most at the picture of a mother and a child. Okay, and if you think about it, these are both of the major artistic and expressive forms of modern day religion. The man on the bloody cross dilates the men's eyes. What's the woman's dilate to? The mother and child. Isn't it amazing? Christianity embodies those two extremes. But they're eye dilators. And why have eyes dilated? If thine eye be single, the whole body be full of light. Because when your eyes are open, you see beyond the surface of things. You see a larger amount of things that others don't see. You perceive more perfectly another person's intentions. And you can also perceive what their heart's about. I used to tell my daughter when she was growing up, if a man tells you he loves you and his eyes are pinpointed, be very wary.
His eyes what?
Are pinpointed. Beware. Why? Why did I teach my daughter that? Because I know that if he's looking at you with love, and if he has love in his heart, and he sees you as beautiful, and his eyes are pinpointed, there's something dangerous there. There's a lie. You know, the old gem sellers in China knew this very well. And people would come over there to buy gems, and they couldn't figure out why all of a sudden, as soon as they saw one they liked, they picked a particular gem out, and they saw it that they liked it, the price went sky high. Because those old gem sellers knew. They knew how to look at the eyes. And they see, oh, he likes this one. Put a good price on that one for sure. It's like the card players at a card table playing poker. What are they doing? Wearing sunglasses. Why do they think they wear sunglasses? Protect those eyes so that if you get a royal flush, that person across from you can see those eyes dilate. You don't have any control over it. It's autonomic. Your eye dilation is not under your control. Okay? It betrays a lot. Okay? When I was in prison, I knew a lot of dangerous men that were literally killers. Would kill you at a drop of a button. And I used to see this. I see their eyes. I could tell it in their eyes. There was no light in them. The light of life was gone. They were soulless. Couldn't look into their souls. They had none. Okay? Why do I get on these other subjects? Because they're essential for you to be a good astrologer. It's essential that you get integrity. And you can't get it without love. And you can't be a good astrologer unless you love other people. Okay? And that's what's going to make you a good astrologer. Make you a good mother. Make you a good parent. It'll make you a good everything. It'll make you a healthy person. But you have to love yourself first. And that's not always easy, is it? All right. Okay, end of the sermon. So, all right. I want to know how many of you studied this week and really did your work? How many had time to do it? Not one hand goes up? One hand. Julie, good for you. Yeah, huh? Okay. Yeah, today's the full moon, and by the way, that fell at 6 degrees Pisces. So, huh? Yeah, opposites. So these are called transits. That's where the planets are right now at this moment. So if the moon's at 6 Pisces, you know that the opposite sign is Virgo. That's why I want you to know your signs. The opposite sign is Virgo of Pisces, and you know that it's got to be at 6 degrees too. The sun and moon have to be at 6 degrees if that's where the full moon fell. So if you put that in your chart, for example, if I look at my chart, first thing I ask if I see these transits is, what do I have at 6 degrees of Pisces or 6 degrees of any sign? What does my chart tell me? Well, I happen to know that I have Mars right here, exactly at 6 degrees Pisces when I was born. And I happen to know that my Sun and my Mercury are exactly squaring this point, my Sun and my Mercury, and it's setting up a stress aspect, a conflict, because this is forming a T-cross to that point, okay, to my Sun, my Mercury, and my Mars. What does Mars rule in your chart? Anybody know? What would Mars mean in a chart? Loud. Energy, good. What else?
The head,
Huh? Louder.
Strong head. That's strong-headed.
Strong-headed? I like that. That's good. Yeah.
It's the drive in
First
you.
reaction.
Good reaction.
Being
Yes.
involved.
Okay. It could be anger.
It could be anger, physical,
Yeah. Good. Can be pain.
pain, absolutely.
Now it's afflicting my Sun. Guess what I've had for the last 2 days? Back pain. Okay. I got very angry this morning. Irrationally angry.
I was just going to say, did you lose your temper with it?
You got it. Why? Sure, it's squaring my spirit, my Sun, and Mercury, my speech. Okay? So that happens today. That's going on right now. So I know that when I look back at it, I say, now it's pretty obvious why I did that. You know?
And you also got angry over something emotional.
I got angry over a silly thing. My wife was complaining because I bought too many glasses. Seriously. She's putting the dishes away in the cupboard, and there's no room for them because I kept buying glasses. And what my response is, why do you get upset over something so petty? And next thing, I'm exploding now. I'm upset. I'm the one getting upset. And she didn't mean all that. But, it evoked an anger. In fact, I grabbed one of the glasses she was trying to put in the cupboard, and I threw it in the trash. And it didn't. I wanted it to break, but it didn't. I threw it in the garage. I went in the garage, and I threw it in the trash. It didn't break. I think she retrieved it. But the point being that is...
That's the Virgo criticism, too.
Virgo criticism. Yeah, good for you. See, now that's when you start doing astrology, when you put it all together.
And
Okay?
also the moon, because it's moon, which is feminine, the reason, what angered you, it was a woman that angered you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, the wife is the mother, the wife is all those things. She represents that in your life. So that's just a simple little thing that happened today in my chart. Now, you'd say, well, Ron, you should be bright enough and smart enough, and, you're the teacher. Why didn't you, I didn't think about it really, quite truthfully, till later, and I thought, oh, no wonder. And it's a full moon, emotional. Full moons are powerful. Walk out here and look at the canal. It's filled up with water. It's pulling all that water up. Okay? What do you think it's doing to your inner ear? It can cause you to feel a little bit disoriented. Remember I told you I've seen it over the years. People that have mental problems very often have a funny gait, the way they walk. They don't seem to have a particular stride about them that's very balanced. And I think it has something to do with inner ear. That's why full moons there's more crime and more violence and other things. Okay, people are disoriented, they don't understand it. They just feel this little bit of out of balance. We even use that word. He's off his rocker. You know what I mean? All these words we use. They kind of describe that, don't they? All right, so I just want you to start learning astrology. I gave you all the new and full moon charts. You all have them, right? Okay. How many of you knew it was a full moon today? How many? 1, 2, 3? Oh, everybody pretty much. Good, good.
It was on 3 o'clock this morning, right?
Yeah. Good for you. Yeah, boy, she's got it down in a minute. So that's what we're looking for. We're starting to think astrology, start live it, start put it into your life, and be aware of what's going on. Now, these are called transits. Now, if I want to find out more, I would look at 2 other things in a chart, and I would love to. I told my wife, I said, you know, we really should have an advanced class. If you all want to do it, I'll do it with you. But we need to go, you know, if you want to keep going, you need. I'm not one of these to keep promoting. I see other astrologers, they have series of classes and all this, and they sign you up for one after another after another. You know, I'm here if you want me. You know, I'm not here to sell you anything. If you want another class, you want to go for another 5 weeks or whatever, we'll do it. If it's up to you. But there's a lot to learn. You know, I could keep you here for a year and keep giving you training and knowledge and information about all this. But if as a group you decide you want to come back for another 5 weeks, let me know that, and we'll keep it the same price, everything will be the same, and we'll get into the more advanced areas of predicting. I'm going to give you a little bit of that today because I want you to understand it, how it works. I showed you this because of that. I want you to see these are called transits. That's where the planets are transiting, moving right through your chart right now. All right? So the other thing I want you to do is understand the progressed moon, and I want you to understand transit Saturn. Transit Saturn is the timekeeper, Father Time. Took me years to put it all together. I used to do, for years I did readings on the air, on the radio. And I would very quickly learn to put together a progressed moon and the new moons, which are a shadow of things to come. And I knew how to do that quickly and give readings to people on the radio. And I could look in their past, I could look in their future, I could see things about them. And it was pretty accurate. I would say it was 90-some% accurate. But I knew there was something all the time. Deep in my heart, I knew there was just something not right. There wasn't something I hadn't grabbed yet in terms of understanding. And when I was teaching in Boston, one of my classes, I happened on it by accident, but I realized it was Saturn. And Saturn is the 28-year cycle. I told you the new moons are 28 roughly cycle. And so are the progressed moons are 28-year cycle. I think, didn't I tell you that if you have Saturn and the moon, if you have Saturn and the moon in your chart, in a cross, let's say Saturn's here and the moon's here when you're born, or the moon could be opposition. In other words, it's in a cross, in a stress aspect, when you're born. If you have that all your life, we call that Saturn chasing the moon. I think we talked about that last week. So that means because the progressed moon, the moon that we use for what we call a day equals a year in the eyes of the Lord, that's how we come up with progressions. Every day equals 1 year in your life. So if you look at 10 days after your birth, that's your 10th year. We do a chart for that moment. I don't care about the rest of the chart. All I care about is the moon. And I find out where it's at in that chart. Other astrologers are going to teach you to use that whole chart. And I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm telling you what works for me. I've developed a technique that's accurate, very prophetic. So anyway, if you're born with that particular aspect, Saturn has a 28-year cycle. That's your transit Saturn now. That's where Saturn is right now. This is called the progressed moon. Remember, I told you it's equal a day equals a year in the eyes of the Lord. That's a whole different system. It's not your transit moon. It's not where the moon is right now, like over here. So the progressed moon, I use it when I put in a chart. I just put P moon and I put T Saturn here. Transit Saturn, progressed moon. If I've ever done a chart for any of you in here, you know that that's how I do a chart. I put these outside your chart, and this moves roughly a degree a month, the progressed moon, a degree a month. So in 28 years, it's going to go through the 360 degrees, roughly 28 years. Now, when this here and this and the And the new moons, remember what a new moon is. It's when the sun and moon are together, like this. This is the full moon. But when the new moons happen every month, if I put them in a chart, and let's assume, let's go back to my thing here. Let's assume this aspect here. If my progress moon were hitting right here. Let's say the progress moon in my chart was sitting here, conjunct this Mars here, let's say, for example. And transit Saturn is sitting up here with my Sun and my Mercury. This is transit Saturn, that's progress moon. And this is the new moon right here. Here's the new moon. So let's take the moon off of this, put it over here, it's a new moon. Now we've got three factors. If those three factors line up at once, then there's potential danger to me. Why? Because my life, my sun up here, and my Mercury, when I was born, was afflicted by Mars. What does Mars do? It can injure. Okay? What's my sun rule? My back. It also rules my heart. Okay? I told you 6 years ago I had a heart attack. What's that mean? Okay, heart attack, right? It was in my natal chart. I was born with that, okay? Now, should transit Saturn join to this, okay, and my progress moon in this chart aligns on that same cross, there's two factors I'm worried about now, because I got two. If I add the new moon, let's say the new moon fell right down here, okay? Or on this point here. It could form a grand cross or cross, but if I had all three, then I know what's going to happen. I know it's, did you hear what I said? I didn't say I think it'll happen, I know it'll happen. And I can prove it. I can prove it. I've been doing charts for a long, long time. I pull up a chart, somebody will say, Ron, what about this? My uncle died in an airplane crash in the war. Can you tell me anything about that? Let's look at that date. And I can find it. It's there. Nicole Smith, what's her name? Anna Nicole. Yeah, somebody asked me, said, let's look at her chart. Everything lined up. Everything. Exactly. I've got those charts. I was going to make a book out of it. You know, it would have been a great book. I should have moved on it. It's called The Cosmic Clock, The Cosmic Key to Prediction. But the other thing is that transit Saturn. Saturn's the timekeeper. It's a 28-year cycle. I'm giving you the key to predicting. If you can take these three systems, and you know, I told you in the scripture it says, except there be 2 or 3 witnesses. How does it go? Except there be 2 or 3 witnesses, you can't establish something to be in law. Okay, it's not established in law. And everybody thinks about that in legal sense. You know, you got to have 2 or 3 witnesses. That's the law of this heaven. It works the same way. If you've got 3 witnesses, you know it's going to happen. If you got 2, it's likely going to happen. If you got 1, not likely but possible. I did a chart of a good friend of mine this week. In fact, I can put his chart up here and we can look at it. I want to show it. I'll do this. His name is Silvestros. He wouldn't mind me talking about him.